name is Edward Ebenezer Jeremiah Brown. I'm a football supporter of Ipswich Town. Wherever they play, you'll find me. I haven't missed a game since I was 3. With me scarf and me rattle and a big rosette, singing where was the goalie when the ball was in the net. Follow the town, up or down. I'm Edward Ebenezer Jeremiah Brown, but everybody call me Ted.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of We Follow the Town, an exciting edition as we've just seen one of the most exciting football games I think either of us have ever seen. But before we get on to today's show, I just need to quickly mention our sponsor. Julian Hughes, of course, is a golf coach. He coaches at Old Joe's Golf. You can contact him down below at julianhughes1965@gmail.com or phone him at 07382 834 199. I'll repeat that again. 07832. I'm going to repeat that again. 07382 834 199. I probably messed it up 3 times.
Yeah.
Apologies for that. Anyway, let's get on to today's show and forget about that. I'll plug him again later on in the show. But first of all, Aaron, how are you? How's your week been? And how are you feeling about the current state of Ipswich Town?
I've had an okay week, same as usual. It's nice to be able to go out and stuff like that now again. But then I unfortunately had to sit down at 3 o'clock on Saturday and then watch Ipswich for a couple of hours, which was
I was about to say
thoroughly upsetting. But what's the state of Ipswich for me at the moment? I think I'm excited still for the future, but this season I'm pretty much done with. To be honest, Paul Cook's absolutely nailing the players after every game, which is fair play. They've been awful, but as soon as we can get this season out of the way, the better for me.
So, are you still feeling positive about the actual squad that we have? Because I think a lot of us agree that a majority of the players in our starting lineup at the moment probably won't be here next season. But are you feeling positive that anybody or any of the players that were on the field yesterday are going to be here next season?
I'd like to think that Downs is. I'd like to think that Flynn Downs is. He's our brightest spark by a long way, Flynn Downs. And then Wolfenden's just got a new contract, so he'll be here. And he's not been great this season. So that move where he was linked with Sheffield United, wherever it was, in the summer, won't be happening anymore, I don't imagine. So I expect them two to be here. And obviously the guys that are out on loan, I expect to be back. But yeah, I'd hope for the rest of it, to be honest, a lot of changes. One thing I will say about yesterday is Kane Vincent-Young looked decent yesterday.
Do you reckon he's going to be an important player for next season?
You'd hope so. He's everything that Paul Cook wants from a fullback. Every time he got it, he tried to take his man on and do something with it, which was nice to see. But the rest of them, awful.
So let's discuss the negativity surrounding the club. I don't mean in and around the fan base. I mean actually in the football club. Because Paul Cook, it seems, before every game and also after every game, he also seems to come out and criticise the players, which is fair enough. He actually deserves to criticise the players. But do you reckon that that's having a profound effect on the confidence of these players?
Well, it's not going to help the confidence of the players, getting absolutely slated in the media every week.
Yeah.
But I'd like to think this would be the end of it, because it's not his team. So I'd like to think in the summer, after he's had a transfer window, he would stop doing that, because he would be the proper manager, if you know what I mean. He'd have control of the team. He'd have it behind the scenes. He'd have his men in there, instead of sort of previous regimes, guys who are not really doing it for him or for the club.
And of course, those in the comments can get involved. Please send in your questions, get involved in our conversations. And we will be talking about the game later on. There's plenty to talk about. There isn't really, but we will try and cover as much as we can. But anyway, let's quickly get into the news, because to be honest, there's not too much to talk about. The social media blackout, though, is worth touching on. Ipswich Town will join next week's social media boycott, instigated to call on social media companies to take action regarding online hate. So the FA Premier League, EFL, FA Women's Super League, FA Women's Championship, and beyond are all uniting for a social media boycott from 3 o'clock on Friday, the 30th of April. First of all, Aaron, how important is it for all of these football clubs just to come together to combat all the hate that can be seen online?
It's great to see that they're trying to do something about it, but they can do what they want. I think these social media companies are so big, these tech companies are massive, and they don't need the football clubs. It's one of those things, they can do what they want, but Ipswich and all the teams in League One and all over the country going into lockdown is not going to stop millions and billions of people being on their platform. So it's up to them as the sort of owners of the tech company to do something. Obviously, we try our best to help and all that sort of stuff, but and it's the right thing to be doing because the online hate is outrageous to watch. I think we touched on this a couple of weeks ago on here, how you can just freely go on there and say exactly what you want. Well, obviously some people do. I don't personally, but they can go on there like with an abstract name that's not theirs and take the mick basically and get away with it. Is outrageous. So it's good that we're trying to do something. It's whether the people in charge of the tech companies listen, and I hope they do.
So do you reckon, because in my opinion, this could either work or it either won't work? Because let's be honest, the same people who are spewing out the online hate are still going to be doing it next week when we are in the social media blackout. So do you reckon that it's up to the social media companies to actually put more of an effort into stopping this? Because regardless, this will still be something that will happen.
Yes, 100%. In fact, I think it's one of those things where the more you talk about it, the more people do it. I've never seen it like this much in the papers or in the media or whatnot, or players coming out saying they've been abused. I've never seen as much as ever, and it's only been since sort of we've started talking about this in the last sort of however many months. So you just see more and more of it, and I don't know why it spurs people on to do it even more, but that seems to be what's happening. It is down to the people in charge of these companies to do it, and I think they can do it. Like on other networks, you can if you were to type in a word, they black it out, but they don't do that on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, whatever. They don't actually do that. But it's something that they can do. They're clever enough to do it. They just don't do it, which is wrong.
Am I right in saying, though, that this is an issue bigger than football? Because, okay, it's not just football that, suffers from this kind of hate. You have other sports out there where stars and sports stars get racially abused, whether it's homophobia as well or any other kind of hate. So going back to my original question, is this bigger than sports?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, this is a big social media. It's a big social issue. And it's one of those things where either the tech companies need to do something about it or people just need to be taught that it's wrong. I don't understand how I've never done it. I've never thought about doing it. But people obviously do think about doing it. So it's for the tech companies to stop it. And it's a bit outrageous, isn't it?
So Sports Minister Nigel Huddleston has urged social media companies to join forces with football and to find quicker solutions to tackle racist abuse on their platforms. He, of course, hosted a meeting. He is the representative of the FA, Premier League, EFL and Kick It Out. And after the meeting, he took to Twitter to make a plea to social media companies saying racism plaguing players on social media has reached to a crisis point. And he has, again, as I just said, urged social media companies to join forces with football. Should it maybe be the politicians as well who need to get their voices heard out there? Because, we can all make a noise about it. We can all leave social media ourselves. But couldn't the politicians also make a stance on this and make more of an effort to eradicate this kind of hate and to make social media companies, do something about it?
Yeah, I don't know how they would do it. I don't know who runs the social media companies, so I don't know if the government has the power to do it in the UK. I'm not sure, unless they want to do sort of a China sort of scheme where they have their own social media companies.
That wouldn't work.
I know it wouldn't work, but that's what I mean. It's a dangerous game you're starting to play when you have people sort of try to stop people speaking on these social media companies. But obviously, you want them to be more regulated, of course, and you want them to be sort of looked over more closely. But I think the social media people have got to do that themselves. And I think you've either got to do that by obviously making life a lot more stricter for them. But it's how you do that, I don't know.
Exactly. It is a very difficult situation for everybody to be in. But elsewhere, in more positive news, the co-owner of Ipswich Town has vowed to have an Ipswich Town badge tattooed if the Blues reach the Premier League. Quite a daft story, I know, but Newtown co-owner Brett Johnson has vowed to get a tattoo of the Blues if we get promoted to the Premier League. He is one of the 3 Lions who own 5% of Game Changer 20, which is Town's new owners. And he's also in charge, or he also owns, the USL side, Phoenix Rising. So, okay, like we can talk about our new owner getting a tattoo of the club, but does this kind of show that our new owners are actually making more of an effort to connect with us fans? Is it kind of good to actually see them coming out there, appearing on podcasts, appearing on shows and interacting with us in a positive way?
Yeah, 100%. I've listened to a podcast the other day with is it Berke Bakai talking on there, and he's been speaking to a few podcasts, and it's great to hear. It's great to hear their passion for the game, really, and obviously they're bringing that to Ipswich Town, and that's great, obviously. And to be fair, when he's talking about getting to the Premier League and stuff, that gets me excited. So it's amazing to hear that sort of thing, and now we've just got to see it in action.
So we'll talk more about whether we'll get into the Premier League in the near future later on in the show, and I invite everybody to get involved in that. But under the new owners, okay, forget what's happening on the pitch. Are you actually positive about the state that we are in as a club?
Oh yeah, I think we can only go forward from this position. I say if we go backwards from here, it's going to be an absolute disaster because we're sort of we're sort of mid-table, bottom half, League One side. And then obviously we've got these new owners in. They've got a lot of money. They've been sort of telling everybody how much money they've got and how they're going to change the club. So I'm looking forward to the summer, looking forward to the future.
And I think we all are. Anyway, the final bit before we get into the game. The under-18s were beaten ahead of the Youth Cup tie with the Blades. Town under-18s will face Sheffield United in their FA Youth Cup quarter-final at Portman Road on Friday evening. Were beaten 4-2 at Birmingham City in the Professional Development League 2 South this afternoon. Alfie Cutbush and Nico Valentine netted for the side, coached by Adam Ate and Jason Dizelle, who remained second, but now are 7 points behind leaders Charlton, who won 4-3 away at Wigan. But let's talk about our own game, because unfortunately the senior team isn't as good as the youth side. We drew 0-0 with AFC Wimbledon, and I invite you guys to put your thoughts on the game down below, because it wasn't very exciting, was it, Aaron?
It certainly wasn't. No, I had it on and I was like, right, yep, I'm going to watch this. This is going to be good. We should beat these. Surely we should turn a corner now. 4 games to go, whatever. But I got about 10 minutes in and we were misplacing passes all over the place, and just they were first to every ball. And I was like, right, okay, I'm muting these lot on the commentary, and I'm going to watch something else on telly and just have it on next to me. And I'd glaze over it every now and again to see if we've got doing anything or improving. But it was shambles, really. I watched a few bits. There's a couple of good performances. I quite like watching Kane Vincent-Young again. I've not seen him yet, so it's nice to see him play. Nice to see him play this season. He looked okay. He looks like he's got a bit of work to do to get back to sort of full sharpness, but it was positive to see him get past people and bombing on down the line.
So am I right in saying that this is potentially the worst Ipswich team we've ever seen?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, by a long way. I thought last year was really bad, but this is worse than last year. But that's because of obviously all the things we've just spoken about. New managers come in, he's sort of almost threatened the players, really, saying that they're all going to be gone. But you'd expect, for me, if I was getting threatened with my job, I would be wanting to prove myself. Yeah. I'd be wanting to get out there, I'll show you, not what it looks like they've done, and they've just sort of rolled over and gone, yeah, okay. Which is just sickening to see, really, because you'd think that the players would give it, well, they might be giving it their all, I don't know, but it just shows that their all isn't good enough.
Yeah.
But I'd like to think that they're giving it all. They're bleeding and sweating for the badge, but we're not seeing that as fans at the moment. And
it is worth noting as well that Paul Cook has given them the opportunity to prove themselves, to actually play for a new contract. So
yeah, he plays the same bunch basically every week almost, and they're just not doing it for him, which is fair play. But the thing for me is, if I was one of the players, where do you go next season? If you've performed this badly for Town, who's going to look at you and go, "We'll have you next season in the Championship or in League One"?
Take them like Drinan. Where does he go?
He'll go back to Ireland or something probably. You know what I mean? I'm thinking of people like Bishop. If Bishop doesn't get his contract extended, you'd hope that, almost for his sake, because obviously being a Town player and he's been with us forever, I almost hope that he goes on and does better things. But you can't see him progressing if he's going to be playing like this all the time and giving the ball away all the time, things like that, which drives me mental. And like other young players that we've had forever and are trying to play but aren't quite good enough, and we always thought they were going to be gods of Ipswich Town and they're going to take us on to the next level. It's just not going to happen for us or them. So I hope they can continue their careers after this. But if they keep on playing like this, I wouldn't be taking them on as another manager.
So Lee Brown, roll on 2 weeks when most of them will be shipped out, fingers crossed. 100%. Andre Dazelle there. Okay, he's a difficult one because a few years ago he was highly rated, not saying that he isn't now, and he was wanted by the likes of Liverpool and Tottenham. Would you keep him? And if he doesn't stay on at the club, do you reckon he'll also struggle to find a new club?
I would keep him. Yeah, I think he got a new contract, didn't he? Quite recently, like last year or something, or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So he's got a contract, so he'll be staying with us. But I wouldn't want him to. And I want him to improve. You know, he's got the talent. You can see it. The way he gets up, turns, looks for a pass. He's got the talent. I just want to see him sort of really push on and really get to the next level with us, really. But hopefully, if you improve the players around him, you'll really see the best out of him. That's what I hope.
Okay, so I played a game a couple of weeks ago where I read out a whole load of players and I asked my guest whether he would keep them or sell them. So I'm going to play that game again, if that's okay.
Yeah, fine.
I'm going to read out the starting 11 who played AFC Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And I want you and the people in the comments to simply reply with yes or no to whether you would keep them.
Whether I would keep him or whether I think Paul Cook would keep him.
Whether you would keep them.
Okay. Yeah.
So, okay, let's start at the back. Dyer Cornell, he started ahead of Thomas Holy. Would you keep him or would you sell him?
I'd sell him if you could.
Really? Had a really good game though, didn't he? He saved a penalty. So...
Yeah, I could have saved that. It was the worst penalty ever. It was literally a scuff down the middle, and honestly, he didn't even need a movie to save that.
Yeah, and then he came out to the press and said, I did my homework.
Yeah, he dived the wrong way, and he it was such a bad penalty that he saved it. But I don't think our keepers are good enough, basically, either of them.
Okay, Stephen Ward. Stephen Ward has been highly rated by Paul Cook by the sounds of it. I think he's played every game under Paul Cook. I might be wrong in saying that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're near enough, right? He's played most of them.
Would you keep him? I'd keep him as a... You wouldn't? Not even as a figurehead in the dressing room or maybe a coach?
No.
I can't see him retiring, to be fair.
You can't see him retiring?
No.
He's, I don't know, 35 years old. He just looks leggy all over the... Yeah,
he looks older.
He's a bit leggy on the pitch. He doesn't really bring us anything going forward. But I wouldn't keep him. He's not even worth keeping him around, I don't think. It's just a sour taste from this season. I'd start fresh completely with him.
So does Stephen Ward kind of highlight the problems that we have in recruitment? Because Stephen Ward is an old player. He's been in the game for a while, but he didn't quite cut it at Stoke. Does that kind of prove that our recruitment has been absolutely shambolic? Yeah,
he's one of those sort of desperate, need to get a desperate left back in who's out of contract. You know what I mean? Just get anybody in. It's classic Evans. That is. It's a classic Evans. And it was almost back to the McCarthy days where you'd get sort of Jonathan Douglas in sort of out of nowhere. And he's the worst player I've ever seen play an Ipswich shirt.
On the pitch. against
He was.
Newcastle.
It was actually hilarious to watch him play. And every time there was an interview, they'd always say how great he was. And I was like, are you not watching? It's been the worst thing I've ever seen him play. But Stephen Ward, fair play, he's a trier. He looks like a good character. But I don't think you should keep him.
And okay, 2 easy ones for you and the people in the comments. Luke Wolfenden and KVY. Easy one.
Yep.
Okay.
Easy one, keep. Yeah.
So even Wolfenden, would you maybe send him out on loan? Because he has struggled this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has struggled, but I don't know whether sending him out on loan is going to help either. Because he's done that now. He's done his loan spell somewhere, and he played well, and he come back and he played well.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably just a confidence thing with him. If he could get a really good sort of summer in the bank, start pre-season well, no injuries, get into the new season, maybe another centre half next to him with a bit more sort of prowess, and then I can see him having a good season, kicking on, hopefully.
Okay, so let's get on to another easy one. Flynn Downs. I mean, I don't really need to ask that one, do I?
No, he's my favourite. Flynn Downs. Keep him.
Andre Deserve said would keep him.
Yep, keep Andre. But I'd be urging them to improve in midfield, like more legs in midfield, because I feel like with them two in there, I feel like you need more legs or a bit more. I don't know. We need to get into people a bit more.
Yeah.
We just look a second off the pace all the time with Dezelle in there. So I'm not sure. Really, I'd look to improve in midfield definitely.
Okay, here's a question. So you keep Andre Dezelle in the summer. You still look to bring in midfielders, but would you plan your transfer targets around a team that could actually play around Andre Dezelle? Or would you maybe actually buy players in his position so Andre can maybe sit on the bench, come on every now and then and play?
I don't know. He's obviously talented, Andre, but is he talented enough? That's my thing. I think there's lots better out there than him. I know we, as Ipswich fans, we want him to do well. We watched him play at the start of the season. We were like, oh, Andre Dezelle is going to be amazing. That's unreal what he's doing. But literally, it took about 4 weeks, and teams figured out that you just need to go and sit on him, and he's going to make mistakes. And that's what's been happening for the rest of the season. So he's got talent, but he needs to. I think Lee Brown's just put a great thing in the chat there where they're lightweight. Flynn Downs is the only sort of heavy I'd stick in there. Really.
Yeah. But then we have Emma Hughes as well, who some could say is, a heavyweight, if that makes sense. He's a defensive midfielder. People can play off him. I mean, he is, and you can swear on this show, but he is a bit shit. So
that's the thing. He got injured. He was brilliant, wasn't he? And he got his injury problems, and he's come back, and he's not been great. So
yeah,
it's a tough one.
Obviously, when he first came,
he was brilliant, wasn't he? When he first came, I thought he was the saviour because when it was Mick McCarthy had that idea, didn't he? It was Hughes, Adeyemi, and one other, wasn't it? They were going to make a big sort of central midfield. It might have been him. It might have been Skews. It might have been Skews is the other one, to be fair. Which looked great on paper, and they all started playing. It looked good, and Emma Hughes scored some goals and looked promising. And Adeyemi spent all that time injured.
Yeah.
And it's all gone sort of desperately wrong from there.
And Lee Brown, don't forget Nolan. Okay, Nolan's an interesting one. He isn't in the list, but I guess we can add him in there. Would you keep Nolan? Because I quite liked him. Whenever he plays, he doesn't do awfully.
See, I've never really liked him that much, Nolan. It's a strange one for me. I think he's another one of those which is, I don't think he's got the real desire to get the ball and play. Every time sometimes he can do nice things. He scored a couple of goals for us. But I don't think he's another one like Bishop and Dezelle, where they always feel as like a second off. That doesn't look like they're hungry enough to come and get the ball and play. I think if Nolan gets any interest from me, I'd be looking to get rid of him.
Yeah, although he would come in for him.
I don't know. Is he out of contract? I don't know whether Nolan's out of contract or not.
I don't know. Let us know in the comments because I'm unsure whether Nolan is out of contract or not. I reckon.
I think he might get some stuff in League One, Nolan.
Yeah, he's not a bad player.
No, especially if we're looking to get rid and Paul Cook makes it known in the press that he's available. I think we'd probably get some bids for him. But I don't think he's the answer for getting us up into the Championship.
So, okay, a couple of more players. not Keenan Bennett, he's on loan. Teddy Bishop, we already kind of made our stance known, didn't we?
Yeah, I would love to keep Teddy Bishop. I think he's. I don't really know how to explain it. He's just missing a bit of quality in the passing. If he could really find a pass with all that nice dribbling, he'd be quality. But how old's he? 23? 24? 25? No.
Yeah. But he's a player that needs like an arm around him, though. Like under Mick McCarthy, Mick McCarthy was willing to do that. He was willing to look after him as a player. But I kind of feel as though he isn't getting that arm around him. I know he's a senior player now.
Yeah, I feel like Paul Cook wants real strong men in the team, and I don't think Teddy Bishop is that.
Yeah. And again, like the injury concerns as well. Okay, Gweln Edwards, who is our second top scorer. I can't believe I'm saying that. He had a dreadful performance yesterday. I saw the highlights on Twitter. The free kick or the corner, I had no idea what it was that he took, which literally went into Rosie. Would you keep him or would you let him go?
That's a tough one as well for me because he started the season so well. It's another one of those where is it confidence?
Yeah. Or mentality. Does he want to be here?
Maybe, yeah. After the last sort of God knows how many weeks, I'd say no. But he's shown in the past that he can do it, almost. Like, he's scored, how many goals is it? 5 or 6 at the beginning of the season? So he can do it. It's just you're right, whether it's a mentality thing or a confidence thing. I think I'm going to say no. For the second half of the season, he's been awful.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, like I know people make mistakes, and that free kick was a disaster. I don't know how you get the ball to go that high off one of those free kicks. But there was one thing in the game that I
was it a free kick, not a corner?
Yeah, it was. It was a free kick. Yeah,
it looked like a corner, and that's not a compliment.
No, it's not. It was awful, and. There was one thing in the game that really frustrated me. He come to collect the ball, and he gave it away. I think he was trying to pass it to Ward. And if I've played Monday nights, right, and if I give the ball away, I'm fuming with myself, and I'll go make a tackle or try and win the ball back. It's just the way he just rocked his head back like he just gave up on it completely. Like, go and get the ball back. You've made a mistake. Go and work hard for your team. And he didn't do that, and I hate that so much. When you're not a team player.
Isn't it is, yeah. It's frustrating.
Yeah, he is very frustrating. Especially as we know he can do it, and that's the most annoying thing.
And finally, because we've more or less gone through the entire team, so we don't need to preview the team before we do the review. Ollie Hawkins, I can't believe he started. I was surprised about that. You know, he's a nice bloke. I don't have anything against him, but I don't rate him.
No, that's another one. I would say no to that one. I think Cook has just run out of options in attack. That's probably what that is. He needed to try something, and I guess Hawkins is a sort of guy that will bring others into play. And when it works with him, and you can play off him, it works well. But that didn't happen yesterday. And how many games he played? It must be less than 10 games he's played this season.
Has to be, yeah.
Yeah,
scored once.
I remember the game he scored as well. I remember it.
Peterborough?
Might have been. He had right at the beginning of the season when he was playing quite a lot. He had a few chances and he kept on the keeper was making good saves and stuff. And I thought, it could be an handful, this Hawkins. Obviously, he's got injured and he's been out of the side. So no, not for me.
Again, we keep going back to recruitment because Hawkins, in my opinion, is another player that kind of proves the problem that we have with recruitment. We're not willing to actually go out there and buy these players. We're actually getting second-rate players who have been rejected by their parent clubs in League One, aren't we?
Yeah, so so Portsmouth weren't great last year, and he didn't play for them
at all.
Really.
Wow.
So he obviously played a few games, but he weren't first team. Ellis Harrison was first team for them, and I quite liked Ellis Harrison when he was here. He just didn't score enough goals. But he was behind Ellis Harrison, and the other fella they got up top. I've forgotten his name. Is it Marquis or something like that?
Yeah, Marquis. Yeah. It's a bit rich of us to say now, though. Sorry. Oh, Ellis Harrison couldn't score enough goals.
He didn't, did he? I still don't think he scores a lot of goals at Portsmouth, to be honest. But I liked him as a player. But yeah, Hawkins is being second rate to those lot and then coming to play for Ipswich, where we're trying to get back into the Championship, is just showing us how bad the recruitment was. Like, no offence to him, of course, he's obviously a good player, but just not at the level that we're trying to be at.
Okay, so I was actually going to ask this question before it came up in the comments. Can Norwood, Jackson and Hawkins share the same car out of Portman Road? Let's talk about Jackson. I think he's all been hype. I don't think he's ever really been a fantastic player for us. I think he's been bang average at best. That's just me being a shouty pundit by saying that. Do you reckon he's any good? Do you reckon Jackson would be worth keeping?
He's another one of those, like Hawkins, where he's good at the thing that you ask him to. If you want him to go and run off the back of people, that's all he can do. Like Hawkins, he's just a big fella that can hold up the play. He's not got the other side of it. He's not got a nice touch and pass. If you fizz the ball into him and ask him to touch it, turn and run, God, it'll take him about 5 minutes to get the ball under. It's shocking to see. Like, a professional footballer struggles so much to get it and turn like he does. But I say last season, he scored the most goals, didn't he? Or near enough the most goals and got the most assists for us.
It was only about 10 now, wasn't it?
It wasn't a lot. But at this, somebody else will have him. Yeah. No problem, because they want the pace. But
Championship, maybe.
I don't know. There'd be dreamers if they wanted him in the Championship, and because the Championship, every time I watch the Championship, it looks better and better every year since we got in there. So Derby, I watched them the other day. And they're looking like going down. I actually thought they looked all right when they were playing. I thought, oh, these are actually decent. And I looked at the table and they're struggling. They're right in amongst it. So, yeah, they'd be proper dreamers if they wanted him to come in and score sort of 20 goals in the Championship.
Yeah, and Sheffield Wednesday as well. Like, they've been struggling. They've been scoring bags of goals with Jordan Rhodes up front. So if we get promoted, then...
Yeah, Jordan Rhodes has always scored goals. And it's annoying, really, isn't it? He's one of them we all dislike as Ipswich fans. But, there you go.
Lee Brown, you don't need lots of money to get out of this league. It's all about the right recruitment. Thoughts on that? Because in my opinion, that is spot on.
I guess so. I don't know how to get out of League One at the moment, to be honest. So
cross your fingers.
Yeah, I don't know how to get out of League One. So if we can do it like that and recruit right, it looks like we're getting a Mark Ashton. Obviously, well, Mark Ashton's coming. He's obviously been successful where he's been.
He's a football man as well. So
certainly is. Yeah. So if we can get him in, recruit the right people, and make the right transfers, then hopefully that is the right thing to do.
Exactly, but let's get into the game because we've already more or less gone through the starting lineup. As I said, it wasn't a great performance, wasn't a great game, to be honest. AFC Wimbledon aren't a great team either, although they have been scoring recently. If you heard the Chris Thorpe podcast the other day, Joe Pickett is their main man. He scored over 15 goals this season. I think he scored 20 goals. He has been on absolute fire for them. But for AFC Wimbledon, Ryan Longman replaced the injured Ollie Palmer up front, while ex-Blues youngster Shane McLaughlin was on the bench. And ahead of kickoff, both teams took the knee. And on 4 minutes, Luke O'Neill crossed, and Will Nightingale, the scorer of the Dons' first goal in their 3-0 victory over the Blues, headed it over. And the Londoners continued to have the better of it. And on 10, George Dobson was teed up just outside the area, but his powerful, seemingly goal-bound shot was charged down by Luke Wolfenden. So 10 minutes into the game, were you concerned about how the game was going to go?
Yeah, I think when we all watch Ipswich at the moment, we're looking at the worst, aren't we? So as soon as that, they looked like they could score the first few minutes. Couple of chances, as you said, and it was straight away quite a tough one to watch, as I said right at the beginning of the show. So I think I lasted about 10 minutes before turning it on mute and sitting it to the side. So yeah, I saw a couple of chances, we weren't making any. So yeah, they looked like the better side early on.
Is it embarrassing? Because okay, the last time we didn't score in how many hours, because I know we're close to breaking the record, we were playing teams like Liverpool, Tottenham, Everton, but we're playing teams now like AFC Wimbledon, Fleetwood, Rochdale and we can't score against them. Does that just tell where we are as a football club?
It does, yeah. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Like I've got friends that obviously know that I'm an Ipswich fan, and they message you. Like, I've got friends that are fans from all over, like the country and that, and they message you. They say, oh, "What's going on at the town?" You don't want to reply. It's just one of those things. So it's just it's a bit rubbish. I don't even talk about Ipswich anymore, apart from on this podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are like that because I don't even. And this is really bad for me to say as the host of an Ipswich podcast, but I've stopped watching us since that Rochdale draw. I follow us, of course. So I listened to, like, on the way, I was on the way to town the other day. I put the match on the radio, but I don't want to sit there and actually watch it. So our fans should fans get refunded, maybe? That was literally a question from the top of my head. But should fans get refunded for the awful performances?
No, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. I don't even think that's worth thinking about that, because it's just, I don't even think it's our. I don't even think it's Ipswich's duty, is it? Almost, isn't it? iFollow. I don't know how the payment works through iFollow. I know Ipswich will get the majority of the money for it, but I imagine iFollow will get a big old chunk of it as well.
It's worth pointing out, by the way, that iFollow get 20% of the money for it. So they do get a big chunk of it when you think of how many people are buying them.
They're just not going to refund you. I don't think. I reckon most of the people that bought it were season ticket holders that are getting it for free. Exactly. And they haven't even come out with that yet. You know what I mean? That was meant to come out 2 weeks ago, but I know the takeover and all that, and hopefully I think that's meant to be announced next week, isn't it? To do season tickets and stuff like that. So yeah.
And who knows? Maybe more people get a season ticket, all because of the new owners.
Absolutely. Yeah, to be honest, I hope so, because I watched the cup final today. There's 8,000 people in there, and I was watching the UFC last night in Florida, and they had an absolute full crowd in there. And the noise of a crowd gave me the jitters last night watching that. It was mad, and I'd be really excited for next season if we can have a nice transfer window. Everybody's excited. All the Americans come over for the first game. It'll be hopefully a really good atmosphere first game of the season.
Exactly, and talking about atmosphere, well, that is the worst segue ever, because Ipswich are a very poor team. Because a minute later, there was a big scare, and McGuinness and Cornell miscommunicated with the keeper on the edge of his area, and Dobson almost seized the ball until the on-loan Arsenal defender managed to get it back and clear it. McGuinness, why did he start? I mean, I've heard rumours that it's due to the clause that he has in his contract, but
I've heard,
why start him?
I've heard that as well. Is Toto injured?
I don't know. Was he on the bench? We're going to have a look. Yeah, he was on the bench. He's been a good player this season.
Yeah, I think he's done okay, actually, Toto, this season. I don't know why McGuinness is... You know what, at the beginning of the season, I thought McGuinness is one of those players. In about 5 years' time, he'll be fantastic. McGuinness, I think. But he's quite raw at the minute. Am I on my own? I'm on my own. Let me crack on then. So, yeah, I think McGuinness is decent, but not good enough to start.
I am back. Apologies for that. Carry on.
No. I've just been talking to the viewers for the last 30 seconds when you disappeared.
Apologies for that dodgy Cornish internet. Always bound to happen. Always bound to cut out like that. And here's a better segue. Talking about cutting out, Keenan Bennett struck Town's first effort of the game on the quarter hour, taking the ball into the area on the right from Hawkins, and he basically flicked it well wide, scuffed it off the goal. So, we already know how poor Hawkins is. And like me a second ago when I left the stream, Town fans were turning off their TVs because we were playing so poor. Wimbledon continued to look the most dangerous side, with an Ayuab Asal shot blocked on the 16th minute before the visitors had an even better opportunity. Now let's talk about Dyer Cornell. You know, like he had an okay game. Like we spoke about the penalty earlier on. It wasn't that much of an impressive save, was it? But Dyer Cornell, good game. Was he your man of the match, maybe?
I wouldn't give him man of the match, no. I know he kept a clean sheet, but That's your job as a goalkeeper to make
Yeah, and it's
saves.
against AFC Wimbledon, with all
Yeah.
due respect to them.
When I was watching, I didn't think, "Oh Christ, the goalkeeper's having a good game." Like sometimes when we had Bartos, for say, in the Championship, and there was a few games I remember where some of the saves he was making were outrageous, and it was coming over and over again. He was making worldy saves, and I think Bartos man of the match every game, and that's why he won Player of the Season 3 years on the bounce. But Cornell, he made the saves he had to make, but he didn't do anything outrageous to make me think man of the match. To be honest, I don't think many of them deserve man of the match.
Yeah.
If I was going to go man of the match, to be honest, I'd probably give it Kane Vincent-Young. And that's only because he had the most intent, Kane Vincent-Young, I thought.
And again, that proves the lack of quality we also have at the back because, when was the last good goalkeeper we had? Bartosz Bajkowski. Thomas Holy, I don't rate him, isn't agile enough. So would you get in a new goalkeeper in the summer?
Yeah, I'd be looking at a goalkeeper in the summer. Thomas Holy's obviously a lovely guy, and when we were all in the crowd, we all liked him. He'd always get a nice applause, and he'd always speak well to the fans. He's a nice guy, but it's just frustrating to watch because some goalkeepers you see and they're making saves, and they're making saves that shots that are meant to be going in, and he's making a save. If it's not straight at him, or sort of, if he should save it, he does, but he never makes a save. If you know what I mean,
They fall to him, don't they?
Yeah, you'd almost expect every goalkeeper from the age of 16 up to make them saves. He makes them, which is fine. And apart from that penalty save last season, that penalty that he saved last season was fantastic. But almost other than that, if he has to go and make a save, he doesn't. It always goes by him. He's almost looks like he's reacting like a half a second too slow and doesn't get anywhere near it. I'd get a new goalkeeper.
So apologies for that, but talking about a saved goal, the Town goal had been living a charmed life, and until the 21st minute, the Blues had keeper Cornell to quote-unquote thank for the score remaining level after Wimbledon were awarded a penalty. The ball had fallen for Joe Pigott in the area, but as the striker worked himself to shoot, he was pulled back by one of the several defenders around him, and referee Ollie Yates pointed straight to the spot. Skipper Ward protested in a less than convincing manner, but Pigott took the ball for himself. He took the penalty for himself, but Cornell with his leg dived to the right, so the wrong way, but again saved it with his leg. So again, not a fantastic penalty save, but he saved it. And to be fair, there's not much to talk about. We get in at half time. It's 0-0, A very boring game. What are your thoughts of the first half? There isn't really much to say, is there?
No, obviously the penalty save's great for his stats and all that sort of stuff, and we didn't look like we were going to threaten their goal at any point in the first half. I think we had a couple of chances where balls got whipped across the box and Hawkins nearly got on the end of them. But other than that, we had no real chances on goal.
And anyway, let's get this game out of the way with, because it really isn't an exciting game to talk about. So we get in at half-time. The scoreline, of course, remained level. Town swapped Bennett, so again, failed to impress for Armando Dobra. Let's talk about Bennett again, because if there's one player he always gets criticised on social media, he's maybe turned into our new scapegoat, it's Keenan Bennett. See, he didn't perform well, did he?
I didn't think I've seen him perform well once since being in a Town shirt. Maybe once, maybe in his debut. He played all right, he looked exciting, but I don't understand. I don't understand how players can get it so wrong all the time. Like, real talents as well, clearly. Spurs Academy got looked at by a Bundesliga side who are decent Bundesliga side, like Champions League sort of Bundesliga side.
Who's he on loan from?
Mönchengladbach, yeah. Yep. They just got beat by Man City, didn't they? A couple of games ago in Champions League. So they're decent, and he's obviously been looked at by them. But after this loan spell, he's not going to go back there and don't get anywhere near playing. No. Like, I honestly can't see him being a League One player. Like, I think League Two is probably his level at max, because his touch is all over the place. Like, there was a moment where it would have been perfect. So Kane Vincent-Young's taking it past a man and trying to do a little 1-2 with Keenan Bennett's down the right-hand side. Keenan Bennett just kicks it straight out of play. I was just watching it. I was like, come on. Delicate little layoff and you're playing. That's it. You're in. And that shot that we spoke about in the first half, he's done everything right. Perfect. Little step over, by a man, cuts inside. Let's have a shot on goal. Completely gets it wrong and doesn't go anywhere near. And you just see the players all around him when he's missed that chance, heads dropping straight away. Because, come on, you've got to do better. But yeah, I don't know. It's not been a successful loan deal for him. Bless him.
Correct me if I'm being cruel here, because I saw on Twitter somebody called him the worst Ipswich Town loanee we've ever had. And I invite you guys to get involved in the comments. I have one really random question I'm literally going to throw out there. Who's the worst loanee you've ever seen in an Ipswich Town shirt? And could Keenan Bennett be that player?
Keenan Bennett's is right up there. I'm trying to think of the loanees we've had, because we've had a lot of them, haven't we?
Yeah.
In the last few years.
Leon Best, he wasn't on loan.
No, I think he was. I think we got him on a free, didn't we, for a year?
Yeah.
Colin Quainer. He was awful.
Yep. Mustafa Kyle.
I didn't mind him. He weren't great, but he's okay.
Yeah.
But he was better. He would have done a lot better than Keenan Bennett's in this league. Like for us now. Iorfa I didn't rate that highly.
Now he's doing well, isn't he?
He's doing all right, yeah. But I didn't rate him that highly when he was with us. He was obviously very talented. He was
that guy on loan from us last season. He was from Cyprus. He's been released.
Georgiou, he's in there. He's 100% in there. He's right up there with Bennett's. But he looked talented as well when he first burst on scene. He started so well with us, and I don't know if it's just a confidence thing. It might have been Lambert just destroying him. I don't know, but he looked okay for like when he burst on. Like he come on, didn't he, at half time at a game, and he looked the real deal. And I was like, oh, here we go, real player from Spurs. Now we've got another player from Spurs who's also crap.
Yeah, and who we apparently want again next season. But
who? Bennett?
Parrott. Are you talking about Parrott?
Oh God, Parrott.
Would you keep? Okay, let's go to that a minute, because now that we're on to it, we might as well talk about it. Parrott, would you keep him next season in on loan? Of course, Bennett, that would be a no. I wouldn't keep him again next season. But would you keep Parrott?
Don't know. Maybe. I don't. Yeah. He's not shown me enough to think he's going to score a load of goals for us. He
hasn't been bad though. Like he showed more desire than half of our own players.
He does. Yeah, he does work hard, and you give him that. But I think we spoke about this a few weeks ago, where he works hard in the wrong places.
Yeah,
where you want him to be in and about in the box trying to score goals, where he's sort of tracking back one of the wingers in a fullback position. You know, he's got a lot of work to do, Troy Parrott, but he's obviously going to be He's obviously talented. Would I keep him next year? Depends how we get on in the summer, I guess. With the transfers, but maybe
as a backup, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I wouldn't be starting him if we were looking at getting into the championship.
So again, Wimbledon. We're getting back onto the game now. Wimbledon went very close to going in front in the opening minute. Pickett escaping down the left and cutting back from SL. Cornell first did well to close down the midfield, and then dived at his feet to claim the ball. 48, Radoni smashed a shot over the side netting. Despite the early Wimbledon chance, the Blues had started the second period more on the front foot than they had done in the first half. And in the 52nd minute, we hit the woodwork. Dazelle whipped over a corner from the right and Pickett diverted it into his own crossbar. As you can hear by the tone of my voice, there isn't really much to talk about. Let's briefly get onto the subs a minute. Town swapped Bishop for Cole Scouse. Do you reckon the game improved when Cole Scouse came on?
I think I'd probably given up by that point, to be honest. When I saw Cole Scouse coming on for Teddy Bishop, I was like, right, okay. Cole Scouse is going to get you a goal in the last half an hour of a game. But I don't know. I think they just swapped what Downs was doing with what Bishop was doing, because Bishop was playing off the front man all game, and it looked like Downs was doing that instead of Bishop when Scouse come on, which is fine. but I don't think that's down to his game. Personally. So I don't think that was the most inspiring change Paul Cook could have made. Bring excuse on, but he doesn't have any. He doesn't have many options to score goals.
Yeah. And when you look at the bench, Luke Chambers, Cole Scouse, Caden Jackson, Nsiala, Trinan, Dobra. Again, like, I'm not being rude, but there's not a lot of talent on that bench.
No. Unless you want Chambers to sort of nick a header from a corner in the last few seconds that he's done a few times for us. Well, he's done it a few times, hasn't he? I remember, I think he's scored a couple this season, hasn't he?
I did Norwich a few seasons ago.
And Norwich, and he did it at Peterborough. I was at Peterborough. Yeah. Last season. Yeah, it would have been last season where he scored a last-minute header. But yeah, when you bring in Chambers on to try and score in the last few minutes, or try and even looking like doing that, you're in trouble, I think.
So anyway, this is probably the most exciting part of the game, to be fair. In the 83rd minute, Edwards was fouled to the left of the box. That sent his free kick in. You know what I'm going to talk about. Yeah. Sent the free kick into the area, not only over the bar, but into the Bobby Robson stand. Okay, that was the worst free kick we've ever seen. I thought it was a corner. Does that kind of sum Gwion Edwards up this season?
Yeah. I don't know how you can get it that wrong. I've said that earlier on. Yeah, I've never taken free kick. I've never looked like kicking it that high with a free kick. He weren't far out of the box either.
Yeah.
So I guess what he's trying to do, is give it some real pace and try and get it around the back post, where it's one of those where either the keeper's got to go for it. If he leaves it, it goes in. If he goes for it, a player can nick it and go in. I think he's looking to do that, but it's just ended up leaning all the way back and blasted it into the top stand, which is it was foul. He should get taken off of that on his own. If you do something like that, it should be taken off for me. Like, how can you get paid? How much do you reckon he gets paid? 5, 6, 7 grand a week?
Yeah, a lot of money. Probably more than most League One players.
Yeah, he's probably right up there. And he does something like that. I just think you train every day. So, you know what I mean? You train every day. Get it right. Or at least try to. Yeah.
But anyway, let's put the game out of its misery, because I don't want to talk anymore about it. It was 0-0. It wasn't very exciting. You can hear by the enthusiasm of our voices that we enjoyed watching it. Okay, thoughts on the game? Probably the worst question you've ever been asked on the show, but what are your thoughts on Ipswich 0, AFC Wimbledon 0?
I'll just say that my thoughts is the best moment of the game wasn't the Gwion Edwards free kick, it was the final whistle. So I could just turn it off, turn my laptop off, and pretend it never happened and get on with the rest of my day. That was the best thing about the game. So, let's try and move on and hope for a better result next week.
But let's take a look at Paul Cook's comments after the game, because at least his comments are far more exciting than what we're seeing on the field. Asked his assessment of the game. Sorry if I messed this up. I'm literally reading the transcript. Cook said, "I know I can't shut up and I've got to be careful because I don't want to go on, so I'll try and be as brief as I can. The first half was possibly, and I've got to have a good memory, the worst performance of one of my teams I've ever seen in my whole managerial career. I've never seen a team play like that. I've never seen a team lack every quality on a football pitch, including the biggest one, honesty, including when contact, winning the second ball, doing basic stuff well, and it's so disappointing. But nothing will sway me now. I've been of a mindset for a period of time before Marcus even left the club and the new ownership came in, what needs to happen." So, okay, that is the first time I've actually heard of these comments. What are your thoughts on his damning assessment of the game?
Well, he's right. He's right. Like, he said a lot of times how he's a big football fan. He loves watching Liverpool and stuff like that. So he's a football fan first, and he's speaking exactly how we would speak about the team, which in some ways is refreshing, but in other ways it's a lot like what Paul Hurst was doing when he was first here, when he sort of damned the players and that after the games. But the difference between him and Paul Hurst was Paul Hurst come and did that to his own players that he brought in. Paul Cook's saying that about players which aren't going to be there. And how many games we've got? 3 games left.
Yeah.
After that 3 games, that's it. Which obviously is disappointing for the players. And like me personally, some of the players that have been there a long time sort of Skuse and Chambers. I'd like to give them a bit of a send off if they were here next year. But
testimonial.
Yeah, seriously, like just a little. If they come round before the season, clap the fans or whatnot, I'd be happy to see them round. But a lot of them I wouldn't be that bothered if I never saw those again.
And okay, like Paul Cook also said, I can't stand watching us play, and that breaks my heart as I stand here privileged to be manager of the club, and the team does not epitomise what I like about the game. It's the total opposite. So again, that kind of sums up what we all think. Paul Cook is literally, yeah,
it's true. It's exactly what we would say. I don't like watching Ipswich at the moment, but he's probably in the same state as us, where he's excited for the transfer window.
Yeah,
so he's saying exactly the same things that what we'd be saying, but you don't expect it, do you? You don't hear it very often, do you, from managers? So it is strange.
And we'll be ending the show soon. So if you have any questions, put them down below in the comments and we will get to them. We'll read them out. But just to end the show, I'll ask you a few more questions. First of all, let's talk about Paul Cook again, because we just heard what he said after the game. What do you think he needs to do in the summer? Because the pressure will be on Paul Cook, because he has to almost get it right straight away in the summer. So who does he need to bring in, and what does he need to prove in the summer?
He needs to bring in leaders. He needs to bring in characters. He needs to bring in fighters. He needs to bring in players that can play the way he wants to play, and I'm sure he's been looking non-stop since he's been here. Because he's obviously working with the team, but he knows they're not going to be there. So he's going to be looking around everywhere. He needs to spend money, because I think. How many is it on the first team? 8 of them. They're out of contract next season or something like that.
And 8 of them will leave, won't they?
Yeah, and unless you want to get a load of players on a free, which is possible maybe due to the climate of football at the moment, where people aren't going to be able to play their players.
Yeah.
So you've got to be smart. You've got to do the right deals if there's right deals to be done. But I think now that the owners are coming and said, "Oh, we've got £700 million cash," you know what I mean? Clubs, if you want to get their players off them, are going to want paying for that.
So again, there's not really much to talk about, because Ipswich Town, and I'm not being rude, are a very boring club at the moment. But you just spoke about the released players. Over 8 are out of contract, and Alan Judge has already left the club. Are you expecting to see, and this is a really cliched question, a totally new Ipswich Town team in the summer?
I hope so. I obviously want our best young players to still be in and around it, because that's what we love as football fans. We love our own players to be in and around there. So Downs and Wolfenden and people like that, I want him to be around Dazelle. But other than that, I'd like to see most of the rest of it changed, to be honest. And I think Paul Cook thinks the same. And I think with the new backing from the new owners, I think that can happen. Obviously, as soon as we then come into the new season, the big thing then will be, you've got a whole new team. It's going to take time to bed in, which is going to be exactly what's going to happen. I know it now in my bones that next season we might start poorly, and they'll all come and say, new team, it's going to take a few more weeks on the training ground, which is I can see happening. But hopefully it's not the case. Hopefully we can get some real quality in, and hopefully we can sort of blow League One out of the water and get this dirty stain off the Ipswich Town name.
Yes, absolutely spot on. And I think that is a perfect way to end the show. And thank everybody for joining in the comments. Those who are subscribed to the channel, and those who also like the channel. I'm going to give the sponsor there. That's really ironic. I'm going to give the sponsorship one last try, but I just messed up then. Okay. I'm actually quite nervous now. Okay. Deep breath. Julian Hughes is a golf coach. He coaches at Old Joe's Golf. I need to quickly get that comment out of the way so I can read the number. Yeah, he teaches at Old Joe's Golf. You can contact him at juleshughes1965@gmail.com or contact him. Here's the tricky one: 07382834199. He's a great golf coach. So please get in touch with him. Okay, I'm so sorry, Julian. I'm so sorry that I've slaughtered that. But yeah, get in contact with him. He's a fantastic coach. 20% off if you mention We Follow the Town. Anyway, that's a great way to end the show, an embarrassing way to end the show. I'll probably pre-record it next week.
Maybe.
So yeah, carry on following the town. And finally, before we finish, what do you reckon the score will be against Swindon? We can get them relegated if we win.
Is it 0-0?
0-0, spot on, and I agree. So thank you very much for joining in, and keep following the town.